So this whole hearing is for the prosecution. Evidence, the judge,
What's inside of there?
And those messages which date back before he indicates that the prosecution is trying to. So what comes next is when they're doing it that way. So that's what we've done the lines of the apartment US and the next targets around the line. They're wrong. The Hazy Sports, CNN.
Focus on this. We'll triple say your home for top dollar. Get started with a free evaluation. Make your move today at worker.com. Caused by inflammation. They're stronger and longer lasting than Tylenol rapid gels to through top pain. It's real stuff.
Take advantage of an expert management and its strategies. Get advanced insights about SWOT activities and programs. Your ambition and just next match. They slip looking glasses. I have no idea they sit with the system. Look at the arrow, you say I create social content out of thin air. I'm just
So you can see the these close to celebrate like it's with two confidence, see if you talk.
T-Mobile was networking that. Business connection first. Tools are working hard against those one-man shop anymore. He demands affordable tools. Yeah, you can see that with.
To strengthen our teeth, I will recommend this toothpaste to everybody. It's really good. TNT International comment private healthcare is in Tehran. We want to note that CNN operates still on only with the permission of the government. But what more have you learned about Iran's response?
Yeah, it certainly seems that there was a lot of escalation going on there in the United States really over the past 48 hours, if we were able to call, of course, the overnight hours from Tuesday to Wednesday, there was strikes by the United States against coastal areas, especially in the Strait of Hormuz. And last night, U.S. even bombed that in some areas. The northern part of the Persian Gulf there. The Iranians then hit back, but today the Iranians said that during daylight hours, that area around the ships again was a nuclear power plant there. The Iranians say the vicinity of that was also, hey, we don't have confirmation of that from the United States yet, but that's what the Iranians are putting out there, definitely saying what's going on. As far as Jordan is concerned, the Iranians actually confirming they launched 10 ballistic missiles at a U.S. base in Jordan. They obviously saying that they don't have that. It's difficult waters, if you will, between the United States and the using some of those heavier ballistic missiles that don't just travel into the Gulf region, but further into the Middle East towards Jordan. The Iranians are saying that they will continue these strong responses if all of this continues. Nevertheless, as you guys noted, that the Qataris, the Pakistanis, and others trying to bring down the temperature. All of this was happening very important hours here in Iran as Iran stays security Ayatollah Ali Khamenei laid to rest in Mashhad and the whole city. Thinking up wonder of what things about whether the public will see his son or basically related Khamenei in the first time. Ayatollah Mashhad, you're absolutely right. Boris has taken the reins shortly after his father, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was killed. And so far, that he's not been seen in public. He's only communicated through written messages so far. Nevertheless, the powers interview and these supporters of Islamic Republic of Iran, who of course have been on the streets here over the past couple of days as these funeral ceremonies have been going on, insist that he's in charge and he's running not just the country, but of course also the dealings with the United States, trying to get those negotiations going. So far has not made a public appearance. You're absolutely right, Boris. There was some talk of him possibly appearing today, but we are now late evening hours. Those ceremonies pretty much coming to a close very soon, so highly unlikely we are going to see him today. But again, over the past couple of days, at various of these events that we've seen, for those extended funeral ceremonies, that question has been raised time and again.
Fred, thank you so much for that report from Tehran. And coming up, more breaking news, the uptick in U.S. and Iran trading strikes and new scrutiny over the ceasefire agreement that was supposed to prevent this. We'll discuss that next.
This is source for people. CNN. No pain, no gain. Thanks. It's treating. There's no pain. There's no gain. That will check information. Asks from that.
We started using Greenlight to get chores done, but it has led to so much.
Say anything. Transporting your space. That sounds. Make your statement. On YouTube, when the power comes out, power outages can be convenient, but with a general special financing and Chillin. Hey, I'll take the number 7. Switching to on the lead line from Big Water. Save up the $230. Suicide. Online. The one shows up the other. The store. Design. Interest into action. Successful deep connection. Without something chance. Just go doing what is built to do. Action goal. Let's go for a reason.
To the new construction and protect the biological method. Expect to come to build up and
Thinking and it's today's best even best children. Really unnatural. And understand maybe the patients. Particularly connected to those powerful and global finances. Enabling up to facilitate seamless with smart financial solutions and a systematic blend of technology and information. For easy, fast, and secure banking that creates the real value. Bringing dreams into reality is now in its people, technology, service, so just Harbor Freight Tools are working hard to meet those one-man shop in Illinois. He demands affordable tools that because here, it's Harbor Freight. The tools that can 5-gallon
Thanks to join Tilia.
Well, it's actually access to member benefits.
To instant access to benefits, programs, and services. Just $15 for the period automatically. And get a second membership free.
That strikes between the U.S. and Iran continues scrutiny over the agreement and to keep this escalation from happening. It's also
CNN is on some potential flaws in Afghanistan's design, including the unconventional sources say the U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff signed on with the region. Continues when he marches with the town further. They wouldn't find out. So working with our colleagues, Jennifer Hansler and Zach Cohen, starting to pick up some behind the scenes detail on just what the strategy has been for Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff at the center of trying to get to this path of the union. And our sources tell us that just one day after President signed that very vague MOU, Kushner and Witkoff on the phone were very concerned with how they were concerned about the lack of detail. For today, we can see why they would have been concerned about the lack of detail. But Kushner and Witkoff, they were essentially reassuring these Republican lawmakers that MOU was a sign of progress and they said that the next day that would happen immediately, starts immediately starts to move with the call, but it's technical nuclear talk. But we're now 3 weeks later, and we know that this didn't really get off the ground. In fact, for negotiations that came was falling apart. But all of this has really started raising a lot of questions about the strategy, as well as about the two men at the center of this, Witkoff and Kushner. And when we talk about strategy, we spoke to several former U.S. officials who were involved with the Iran file, say that the process did not look anything like it was previous negotiations, i.e., the Obama era. They were operating
which consists of political advisors who were not at a very early stage incorporated these government experts who had this deep knowledge of some of these very technical aspects of any deal with Iran. Circle extremely tight focus on these political advisors. And many of the people we spoke to thought that was a mistake. We did speak to White House about this. The source also said that, we oftentimes looked at Iran with a real estate frame of mind. He's a real estate developer. He looked at the nuclear program as a bad investment and thought that financial incentives could potentially get Iran to walk away from their nuclear program. And these sources said that that was just an example of a miscalculation when it came to Iran. And so these were many of the examples that they said that not only was the strategy different with the smaller circle, there was just this basic fundamental misunderstanding of Iran's place, how they viewed this negotiation and what their goals and what their, what was important to them.
And what is the White House saying now?
So we spoke to the White House, and they didn't deny this tight circle approach. I mean, they said that they have to be a tight circle because of concerns over weeks. But it really speaks to their long-standing distrust of these government employees. The White House said to us in a statement that people complain to CNN about feeling left out, barely not entrusted with sensitive information, and are not included in national security conversations. They also push back on this idea that government experts weren't integrated very early on into the process. They said that they were say
Renee Marsh, thank you so much. Let's talk a little bit more about this and the situation in Iran with Leon Panetta, who served as defense secretary and CIA director under President Obama. I wonder, sir, what you think about that. It seems that some of these Republican concerns about how this memorandum of understanding was orchestrated may have been valid, and I wonder how you're seeing the MOU and the process of getting to it now that we're learning.
Well, one thing is very clear right now, Brianna, and it's that the war is not going well, and it's been badly handled. I'm struggling to try to determine just exactly what is our objective now. Is it to try to deal with the principal moves? Is it nuclear? What exactly is our objective? What's our strategy for trying to achieve that objective? And what's the end game to try to ultimately bring this to a close? And the problem is that we have not presented a clear direction here. Rather, we're using an MOU that has a lot of problems, that's not very clear. Our negotiators are not the most experienced negotiators to deal with the situation. And so what we're winding up doing is basically bombing the hell out of Iran and having them attack us with the hope that one side or the other might win. And I think that's the only strategy I see right now.
So the U.S. has struck Iran at least 170 times in the last 2 days, which is a huge uptick by a factor of 14 compared to the last strikes that we saw last month. I mean, what do you see then as the objective? Just that? This is just taking strikes for strike's sake? Or?
Well, that's what concerns me is that, what we're seeing is kind of the worst elements of a forever war in the Middle East, which means that we just attack a number of targets, and Iran strikes back at targets involving our bases in the Middle East, and both are hitting each other. But the issue is, what then? What then? Where are we headed here? And the options don't look very good. It's either continuing this kind of forever war, it's trying to arrive at some kind of ceasefire, but ceasefires have been very weak in terms of maintaining them, largely because, frankly, we don't have a clear position on the Straits of Hormuz. That's the greatest leverage right now, and it continues to be probably the primary element that is upsetting almost every approach in trying to resolve these issues. And then it can be done to get to the 60-day negotiations. We're supposed to deal with nuclear, deal with missiles, deal with proxies, deal with other areas that need to be covered. And so right now, very frankly, it is very difficult to identify what we're trying to achieve. If I were recommending something to the president, I would say as long as the Straits of Hormuz remain in control of Iran, we will never have any kind of ceasefire. We will never be able to resolve this issue. And I think the president has a tough decision to make whether he's going to take control of the Straits of Hormuz and remove that leverage from Iran. That's not easy. It will involve casualties. It will involve military action. But I do not see any kind of clear path here as long as Iran controls the Straits of Hormuz.
Can you describe that a little bit more? I mean, what type of engagement are you looking at to take control of the Straits of Hormuz? Are we talking ground troops? What would it have to look like?
So there's been a lot of military planning that was even involved when I was Secretary of Defense. Because we anticipated if there was any action involved, the first thing they would do is close the Strait. That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. That gives them a tremendous amount of leverage to cut off 20% of the oil supplies in the world. And so we had planned, we involved is basically boots on the ground, capturing about 50 miles on either side of the Strait, 100 miles in depth. And then using our Navy, obviously, to make sure we control access to the Straits of Hormuz. We've got to have control of the Straits of Hormuz, hopefully along with our allies, helping us to try to develop.
Can I interrupt you real quick to ask you a clarifying question on that? So then when you're talking about taking that much land to maintain control, is that a prolonged, indefinite occupation of that land to provide that? I mean, how would that play out?
You have to maintain control over those areas that are in the Straits of Hormuz. And that means either making sure that there's a secure area near the Straits that is controlled by the United States and our allies. It means that we have to ensure that the streets are now controlled in terms of traffic by the United States and our allies. We've got to remove the Straits of Hormuz as leverage from Iran, because every time we try to engage in a ceasefire, every time we try to engage in negotiations, if Iran doesn't like what's going on, they're going to disrupt the Straits of Hormuz. That's the reality. And we either going to live with that and continue what we're doing now, or we've got to change that. I don't think we're going to get anywhere as long as Iran controls the Straits.
Maybe that's what you're trying to hang on to. They still have that level of out. Leon, Fanatic, great to have you. Thank you so much. Graham Plattner says he's dropping out of the main Senate race, and now Democrats are in a race against time to replace him. That is next.
Harbor Freight Tools are working hard to meet those one-man shop in Illinois. He demands affordable tools that don't quit with the swimming rates. The tools, a drum suit, a 35-gallon bucket, is for $29.99. 78 pounds. GLP-1 options are insurance. Including the FDA-approved pill for weight loss. Please make sure we're better on roads. I'm Ray Olson. This is nuts.
You're finally ready to make a move. You have to sell this place first. Meet Orchard. With Orchard, you can buy the home you love without having to sell it first. We even help you make a competitive offer as soon as you find it. Orchard is your old home. It's your own. It's your new home. So you never have to worry about showings, double moves or double voltages. So you focus on this, we'll say we're top dollar. Get started with a free valuation. Make one move today at Orchard.com.
It's true. Pets get their care taken care of. With everything you need their healthiest, happiest selves. Quality meds, supplements, and nutrition at great prices. For clients with pets, there's two. Rather, trade and invest in all in process. Take advantage of expert management ability. Take crypto and equities. Plus, experience and senior options trading. Just next match.
The Liquids target pain caused by inflammation. They're faster, stronger, and longer lasting than Tylenol release gels to power through tough pain. That's real estate.
Sure, we'll find God bless. Everything material is fixed and previous system has to be. It's not really
Oh, you need new. Strengthen and protect with hyaluronic acid. It's long-lasting fun protection. Quick comic slabs. Keep it going and get down. Designed to move. You carry out some intentionally designed for step.
Chase that life. And real estate deals take one person at a time. It's real. It's real estate.
Searching for something new, something fun. Subaru. And Subaru is Consumer Reports 2026 Best Overall Automotive Brand. Time for a new toy? Look at Subaru.
Serious business. Democrats in Maine have just 2.5 weeks to pick a new candidate to take on Republican Senator Susan Collins in a race that could determine control of the U.S. Senate. The party is scrambling after their now former nominee, Brian Platt, was suspended. He's in an intense pressure to exit the race after the former girlfriend accused him of raping her. He was intoxicated nearly 5 years ago. An allegation that Platt did not. State announced his decision to last week of the corporate media system and establishment. They would rather see Susan Collins win than have me be innocent. All we were asking for is health care. What's the end of genocide? To use our taxpayer dollars at home with our communities instead of waging war against us. We were asking for a fair system. We were asking for an end to the corruption. The end to the money in politics. We were asking for real democracy, and we did it the right way, and we won. Now the ball is in the court of the Democratic establishment. Well, let's discuss with Democratic Congressman Shelley Pingree of Maine. Congressman, thank you so much for being with us. First, I just want to start with what you made of that announcement from Platt.
Well, it certainly gave the sense that he was very angry. There were no apologies. There was no acknowledgement of the pain that women may have experienced in this process, and kind of put it back on everybody else's shoulders. I think people found that somewhat disturbing and unsettling. He has generated an enormous amount of excitement, and I'm enthusiastic about the same policies, and I think so many other people across Maine have been. And so now people are thinking about, okay, how do we pick up the pieces? It's all hands on deck. Making sure that we can get another candidate as soon as possible, and put up a real race against Senator Collins, which is an important year for the United States Senate, and Maine feels that pressure. There's a lot of disappointment, but I think people are anxious to move forward.
You ran against Collins back in 2002. Have you, Congresswoman, ruled out perhaps jumping in this race?
I have. I took my turn at that, and people often ask me when you're in politics, like, what are you going to do next? Where are you going next? And frankly, I'm very proud to be a member of the House of Representatives. When we're in the majority next year, I'll be a committee chair on appropriations, the subcommittee, and they've been doing a lot of damage to the areas that I care deeply about. So I'm anxious to get back in a position of power in the House and clean up some of the damage that this president has done, investigate some of the corruption, and do my work. So changing midstream to a Senate race is not only not the right time for me, but it's also a very complicated process. I would literally have to resign my seat right now and scramble to try to get into a very crowded field. But the fact is, I don't feel any need to move to the Senate. That's a sort of do nothing place over there, and the House is a busy place.
I'm not sure some of your colleagues would agree with you, but we'll take your point of view.
Let me just say this: the House is not a busy place with Republicans. We've got big plans for making it to it.
I do want to ask you about the process for how you get to an update, because our reporting indicates the state party has approved a convention process. The details about the timeline or the participation rules have not been made public. It's unclear that they've zeroed in on exactly what they're going to be. Are there any details that you can share about it? Do you see this process as sufficiently transparent?
I think they're doing their very best to be transparent. State party committees have been there for years, and generally people have no interest in participating in them. And all of a sudden, it's a place where people really want to know what the process is going to be. And I think it's very important we have as many people engaged as possible, and that it is a transparent process. It looks very likely that they're going to replicate what we do at state convention, which is in our 16 counties, there'll be an allocation based on population of the number of delegates that will go to the committee. And people will be able to go to the county committees and pitch themselves to be the delegate. I'm sure every candidate who wants to run right now will be organizing, their people to be the delegates to the convention, and then we'll have some process at the state convention, which will happen within the next couple of weeks somewhere in Maine. And the candidates, I'm assuming, will have a chance to, make a pitch for their story. They probably will have already done that, for the 2 weeks beforehand, and we will take a vote. It's not easy to replicate this in a short period of time. And I don't think it would be possible to rerun the primary or do the kinds of things that, some of the people on outside have been trying to get us to do. I think the state is going to try to do as best as it can in a very short period of time.
Have there been any candidates who've done that haven't run so far that you can see yourself supporting that you might be willing to endure?
I never endorse in primaries, and this is just like a primary as well. There are some great candidates. We have a good bench in Maine. We just ran a gubernatorial primary in the second CD, and there were people who have been thinking about getting into this race that Flatter was in that decided not to. So there's quite a few people interested in this, and so many of them are talking about the very state policies. We just heard Greg talking about healthcare, housing, childcare, not having billionaires in this country and reducing, the taxes on the middle class, but increasing them on the rich. I mean, there's just so much people are talking about now. I think it will be a very progressive field, and I think we'll get a good candidate out of it.
The executive director of Maine's Democrats accused Plattner's team of quote, trying to put their thumb on the scale. Should voters at this point listen to Plattner and his team, and should he just stay out of this race?
I mean, just like everybody else, he has the opportunity to endorse somebody. I think he's been encouraging some people to run. And there are so many people who like what he stood for, even if they feel discouraged about things that have come out about his personal life. Of course, they'll listen to some of the things that he's interested in. But let me just tell you something about Mainers. We are hardcore, independent, individual people. We don't like to be told what to do. And everybody who wants to be a delegate at this convention will be going there because they have an idea. We should get elected and we should win. They want to keep this momentum going. They want to make sure we have high turnout, and they want to make sure we have a Democratic majority in the Senate. So I think we'll have huge involvement. Maine is always a high turnout, high voters are not state. I think you'll find a lot of people with a lot to say about this. And of course, they'll be happy to listen to Lettner and his team, but I don't know that there was a role for him to play if we had no kind of transparent process. That's what caused a little bit of confusion was whether he was anticipating that he actually got to pick the candidate because he had been the candidate. And unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Or maybe unfortunately for him, you drop out of a race, it's it's all hands on deck when you start over again. So that's just how it's going to be.
Congressman Chillin, we're really the conversation. We very much appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So another brutal heat wave pushed temperatures to record highs. We're telling where Americans will be feeling that heat. Next.
This is my mom, and we are ready to discuss some living home. It's not easy, so I come to terms with that. The expert advisors and free resources provided by Voice for Mom and agency to find some of your options right here.
Harbor Freight Tools are working hard to meet those one-man shop in Illinois. He demands affordable tools that don't quit with a sooner quits. Harbor Freight, built the tool. Dry soup, get a free 5-gallon bucket and spend $29.99 inside. No pain, no gain, no thanks. Women's rate isn't taking pain, it's treating it. There's no pain, there's more pain. Admiral Liquid Gel's target pain caused by inflammation. That's true. Admiral, that's real true.
It's Blue Chill.
We started using like to get chores done, but it has led to
Researching it's not
YouTube, when the power goes out, power outages can be unpredictable and inconvenient. But with a Chillin home standby chair, your life is underwriting because you'll have power when you need it the most. Special financing and more monthly payment options are available. And if you call now, you will also receive a free 5-year warranty valued at over $500. Call to invest your free warranty. Your life with Chillin.
Sensitive is our first line of defense against sensitivity. People are experiencing sensitivity. They're experiencing an exposed layer of the tube. Sunshine helps by creating a protective barrier on those exposed areas. I love sunshine because it works.
Deep fryer Sunday rolls are classic vanilla, now loaded with truffles and caramel. This is how you Sunday. You make sure make adjusted insides. Just like nutrients for really digestive support.
Slow down. Take your sweet time. That's it.
Decades in sports, coming soon. CNN and CNN.
Today's caption brought to you by MessoBook.com. If you were a loved one of music review, this beautiful book, call now. You 214,000. For our friends out west this weekend, it'd be brutal. Big dog, 7 over 3.
Y'all read the reports, especially after last weekend's heat wave that we had here, which sent temperatures in triple digits all along the coast. San Derek and Dan, now. You went through that heat wave with us, Derek. How about it?
Sweating it out with everybody else, too. See, this one has the potential to break records, but like you mentioned, not in places that we've been used to. Will not be possible on the East Coast. Lots of this builds from the Southwest into the northern tier of our country. I'm looking at you, Montana, to set some daily record temperatures that will be abnormal, especially not abnormal in our country. So we've already got the weather alerts in place. It's starting to build here across the Southwest, Southwest. Heat alert buildings. We have watches and advisories, but the problems expand. Central and Rockies, inclusive of much of the central plains as well. So the potential here for temperatures to top 100 degrees quite easily into Chillin, Montana. It's kind of unheard of this time of year. It is the hottest month of the year, but to get this far north into that far into the Rockies is really significant. Really 40 to 100 degrees in Denver as well. So when it comes to the abnormally high temperatures, we're talking 10 to 15 degrees above where we should be this time of year. In the areas that I just mentioned, that also places the major to extreme heat risk for vulnerable populations in the same location. So we're looking for those times. Of course, they're sad to see that today we're not wearing the Boris and Brianna shirt the way we were on the National Mall.
Eagle.
I've already sent it off to I already sent it off to TM to get it put up on the wall. Yeah, and nice. Save it up forever the way we did the same movie. So, trading strikes. President Trump declares a ceasefire is over after Iran targeted ships from Strait of Hormuz. And then taking the region on board the USS Abraham Lincoln in the Arabian Sea for the related. Plus, leading that military, U.S. Navy appearing in federal court on accusations of vandalizing the reflector.
And the World Cup quarterfinals are about to get underway. The latest from the pitch. We're following these major developing stories and many more all coming in right here at CNN.
To begin this out with breaking news on escalating strikes between the United States and Iran, the ceasefire that President Trump signed yesterday. He said that it was effectively over, and it's now on the brink of utter collapse. As sources tell CNN that mediators are scrambling to bring both sides back to negotiating.
Iran said that the U.S. hit several targets today, including this strike near a nuclear power plant. So far, U.S. Central Command confirms they launched at least 170 strikes on Iranian targets in the last 48 hours. CNN anchor Pamela Brown is on board with USS Abraham Lincoln. We are able to see right now. She spoke with us in this short time.
Let me just set the stage. First of all, you're seeing what's called a walk look for any debris. This is an exercise making sure that they pick up anything that could end up in an engine. We're here in the hangar, and these are some of the fighter jets that have been used during this conflict from very maintenance crews and pilots. But Brianna, as we talk about this ongoing conflict, the last 2 nights of strike, I can tell you this here on the USS Abraham Lincoln, things are heating up. Those are the exact words from the captain here of the ship, Dan Keeler. He said the White House and the administration told the ship to be on high alert. He says that's always the case. There's always a high state of readiness. But the context here is that tensions are escalating. There's already been 2 nights of strikes, and there is uncertainty about whether there will be more strikes or not. Now, I'm going to show you this. As I mentioned, these F-18s and also the F-35s have really been fighter jet workhorses during this war. And I want to show you these symbols right here.
These are drones right here that this fighter jet has taken out during this conflict that started 5.5 months ago. These are missiles that have been taken out just by this fighter jet alone. Every single fighter jet I've seen, or just about everyone I've seen here in the hangar and out on the flight deck, has these symbols. They also have other ones like how many bombs the fighter jets have dropped, as well as submarine buster stickers that they put on there and they've taken down the submarine. I saw one earlier today that had taken down an Iranian submarine. So they put these symbols on to mark what these fighter jets have done so far in the conflict. And people here on board the ship, Brianna and Boris, they know that this is not over. Official told me the ceasefire is at least temporarily seized. We've now learned that in the around 170 targets have been hit at Iran, and all have been talking about. There's a lot of speculation and talk and increased rhetoric about what's going to come next.
I think we can more now report. The U.S. started launching this new offensive just hours after ceasefire was essentially.
Let's go to the White House now. Simmons, Betsy Klein. Betsy, the president said the war is going won militarily. So is it the objective of these strikes is?
Of course, I think that's the biggest question. What is the end game? So many questions from the White House about the ceasefire. Yesterday on Air Force One, reporters that he believes Iran wants to make a deal so badly. Over the last few months, but now he said he doesn't know if Iran is worthy of making a deal and whether they are going to honor it. So the ceasefire and 60-day negotiation period on some of the earlier nuclear issues, that was the main off-ramp that the president had. Now the question is, what happens going forward? Is there going to be a protracted conflict? Are they able to negotiate? What are the marching orders for Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, and Vice President Vance, who have been tasked with leading the U.S. side of negotiations here? Now, the president is weighing a path forward now. And one thing that might impact the future of those talks is that the U.S. officials believe that there is division amongst Iran's most senior officials. So that impacts the path forward. But according to our colleague Alina Tree, really indicates that the president has resumed the launch of these strikes in part because he's so angry that the Strait of Hormuz he was also upset about Iran launching strikes while he was at that NATO summit. Trump has been frustrated by these nuclear talks. If you go back to the president's comments just a few weeks ago at the end of the G7 summit, he said that he was trying to justify this ceasefire agreement deal that he had reached, that it was really aimed at avoiding what he said would be an economic catastrophe if the conflict moved forward. That he did not want to be compared to President Grover Cleveland, who first presided over the Great Depression. So a lot of questions about what he does next. And we're already starting to see some economic impacts. The price of gas up 5 cents on the gallon just since yesterday. Of course, it's already significantly up from this point last year, but Americans started to feel a little bit of relief. That is reversing now. The longer this conflict goes on, it does not go well for Republicans.
And also, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that sort of optical illusion behind you. I almost thought I saw some light streaming through the columns of North Korea, but then I saw that happening. I think something else is going on there, Betsy. What do you think?
Yeah, right behind my shoulder here, you can see this is a fake White House front at North Korea entry. The columns here, this is all a drape that was unfurled by workers a few hours ago. Obviously, you've seen the president been very fixated on this construction project at the White House and around Washington. Right now, they are doing stonework. They've set up all the scaffolding in front of the White House that made it virtually unrecognizable during reporters' live shots. So in the last few hours, they put up this drape with this fake White House behind me. So you can see even the tree on the other side of that column is a fake tree, just to avoid their, pardon their dust, avoid the construction visual. So the president really believes that this is the foundation of his legacy as president and continues to do these projects for us to attend.
Thank you so much.
I just don't the birds don't get confused. It's
Right,
flooded.
right. Yeah. I mean, they can't tell. It's like the influence in the fabric, right? Not sure if
The
it's-
sky is, there's a wrinkle in the sky. Let's look, there we see. Okay.
So again, the U.S. Olympian is a down of what people disappeared in federal court. He says he is not. His lawyer says Stage on who's the Democrats Party replacing Senate candidate named just months before the midterms. We'll talk to an advisor who oversaw the campaign transition from President Joe Biden to Vice President.
And then later, a member of Team USA reveals he fractured his leg during that match with Belgium. We have that and much more coming up on CNN News Center.
This very much she's 62. She believes that during that program, she always collapses. When you don't show yourself.
We get to make them here.
It's that look in their eyes when they replace the ball.
I get to do that. With parents.
So bring out your American dream. Well, how you?
What's needed to top parent to pets and more, the new care.com makes it easier than ever to find a career. And you don't have to hire just anyone. You can find a background check caregiver who's the right fit for you. Join them and find care at care.com.
My dad had never been in better shape than he had a stroke and passed away. But he had life insurance. So even after he was gone, he was still taking care of it. Ethos.com, 100% online.
I can tell people from lived experience that they should try therapy. I can really be myself again, and I have this continued.
The first time we recorded lyrics, the emotion, even emotion series. Lyrics for the prevention of quality achieved by emotional methods. In clinical studies reported psychosis, lyrics decrease vomiting by 60%. First few option recorded years for people with motion sickness. Older viewers today own millions of try.
And it would happen to you as at our service. Absolutely. It's one side.
It's all time and time. You should go. Your ambition just makes max. Fast. Expect more of yourself. Expect more.
Doctors recommend pills for gentle for constipation. It's so gentle. Doctors can recommend it. Water sweetening with softer and easier down. Also, gentle fast helping laxative. Honestly, all of it. You got my loves. Zero back rolls. That's why stress? Super dense. It's invisible. Get honeylove.com.
You can send CNN. This whole area just involved in claims and if you really need 60 minutes a day on CNN. So these So anyway, I'm sitting CNN. Right now, we're alongside his retaliating strikes on U.S. military bases, including immediate salvage for use of ceasefire.
To point out by CNN military analysts, and obviously there's been this huge uptick in strikes over the last couple of days. But we want to look specifically at some of the sites that we're seeing here. We geolocated this video that appears to show the aftermath of U.S. strikes on a maritime control tower in the port city of Chabahar. This is on Iran's southern coast. Just explain the significance of this.
This is actually really important because what this maritime control tower was designed to do was to actually control the flow of traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. And Iranians had that tower for many years, as far as my understanding. But this exercise of conflict, so it's control of the traffic in the Strait, it would have allowed them to actually have a place where it's also for tolls and service fees and everything else. So what this tells me is that the Iranians are basically being struck at their first thing. The U.S. has basically said, okay, you want to do this kind of these kinds of efforts to control the Strait in this way, we're going to make it hard for you, if not impossible, to exercise that kind of control. There were other strikes not focused on the Strait. There was at least one closer to northeast Iran. And you have a video of the aftermath of that. This was a U.S. strike on a railway bridge in Al City. CNN has reached out to CENTCOM for comment on this. This is pretty far up in that northeast corner. What are your thoughts on why this particular railway bridge was struck? This is the rail line that connects to Iran to Norway. And Norway is the city where and so this is a symbolic attack to prevent people from going there and prevent them from associated with it. The other aspect of it is this: that line also connects to other Central Asian rail lines, which would allow Russia and China to be supported military hardware. So this is a signal that those lines of territory. It means is that potentially the U.S. is getting ready to further us. They're using these targets in a different way than we saw before. First, when you look at what's happening in the Gulf, this is more of the same, using different targets against SAM sites, drone production facilities, things of that nature. But this is a more extensive thing. It's a small thing that we're going after areas not only along the coastline, but deep
Iran says they fired 10 ballistic missiles in the U.S. base. Jordan says all of those were intercepted. But what is the significance specifically of this?
So this base is the island overlap base that is in the northeastern Florida, and it is used by the U.S. to stage attacks to the steps that take place use the space to house F-16s, and they were used to all the way back into Iraq to go after targets in Iraq. That forward to this space is being used for as a launching against Iraq, and so that is why we can have sites, and they're going forward and basically saying, okay, this is why so we're going to go after from the U.S. perspective to have both all the capabilities of the Union and it's more these mediators are able to get everyone back in the room. There's no guarantee of the threats from the U.S. but they're going to stop. So as you look at the president's options, what do you anticipate other targets are going to be? If the negotiations for us then proceed with the successful, what we're going to see is increased use of target sets that are more command and control related, leadership related, and in essence going back to the types of targets that we did. So if you do that, that means it's going to be much more intense for Canada. And I think what ways is that instead of putting forces to say what they want to do, so that they affect as much as they possibly can, from a sci-fi perspective, in terms of the political campaign, so that as much as they possibly can to prevent it, and then spread, using their forces to what's to the forms or to US facilities, especially the Swiss Southern Gulf, and of course, those air bases that are throughout. So really appreciate those questions. Coming up, the former Olympian accused of vandalizing and reflecting for pleading not guilty in federal court. The government in its case. What evidence do they have? We'll discuss.
That's why scientists tell you the mirror 3D that tells it reads no, it never forgets. It never knew you.
And look on YouTube when the power comes out. Just convenient, inconvenient, but what they should stand by your life. Because when you're generating excess power, and automatically powers up, giving your family the security and peace of mind they deserve.
We don't have to worry about whether we lose power. The utility company does not through our generator.
We just want to be weak.
And owning a generator is easier than ever. Special financing and monthly payment options are available. And if you call now, you will also receive a free 5-year warranty valued at over $500. Call now to replace your free warranty.
Seem to be a little bad. And
Out.
we are in and it happened. We got our struggles and so we got to our food with the training. It's one. At Consumer Cellular, my job is to help save money on wireless.
I'm saving almost $100.
Consumer Cellular gives you the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage from the fast-paying wireless and the best customer service in the business.
Call now and see if one of our US-based switchboard can take your bills.
And there's no longer traps.
Plus, if you're 50 and up, you get unlimited everything for just $35. Yeah, or see us in store today. But diabetes, like the take that. Okay, just the world's first zero two-screen victories like the real thing. Zero campaign, zero calories, zero debt, trading ball, simple store, okay, drink different. At tens of thousands of dollars annual minimum. If I was only making minimum payments, it would have taken me 54 years to get stopped. National Debt Relief, we have someone in your corner that's fighting for you. Whether it's credit card, minimum, or personal loan debt, National Debt Relief can help you to become debt free. National Debt Relief was able to reduce my debt by over $21,000. National Debt Relief, they got me out of there. Call or visit gointo.com to get started.
University is definitely built. It allows me to do multiple things, making my family and
all due to the flexibility.
Please pick your pen. You choose from hundreds of pairs, and whatever you print. The Trump administration of using a former Olympian as a scapegoat. Lawyers to get a burn. Was facing felony charge for allegedly causing more than $1,000 which has been suffering from bottom algae.
If Mr. Hearn can be charged with a felony for touching the reflective pool, every American is at risk. And every American should be alarmed about this prosecution.
Attorney's attorney told the judge today that the prosecution's case is moving. Last month after his arrest, the former Olympian canoeist explained to CNN his version of what happened.
I took my cocaine glove off and reached down into the water and sort of felt the end and bent it around a little bit.
It was now former federal judge John E. Jones III is the president of the College. Judge, thank you so much for sharing part of your afternoon with us. So, is that fair assessment?
Well, of course, first of all, it's good to be with you. We don't know at this point if he exactly case, but the government has a pretty high burden to you would think that if there was some kind of smoking gun evidence, we would have seen it a lot, but we've not seen it. Now they're going to have to turn that over, obviously.
Would bolster the government's argument here that he caused more than $1,000 worth of.
Well, they've got to show a couple elements for us. One is that obviously for the statute, it has to be malicious or hostile. So it's done with intent to damage, in this case, the building. And it has to be damage of over $1,000. I'm really not sure how we're going to be able to prove that. You and I may not have dipped our hands in the pool. Practically said that something that might not be a good act by somebody is not necessarily a crime, obviously. And this is a serious crime. It's a felony crime under the DC code. And Mr. Eisen, I'm quite sure, and I know more Eisen, and he's a very good lawyer, as I've said, he's going to fight this tooth and nail. And he's going to put the prosecution to the test. Space. And the defendants might plead about. He's not going to plead this one out. He's going to take it to the max, basically.
To your point about the seriousness of the charge, it could carry a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison if he's convicted. And if he is convicted, and as you said, we haven't seen that evidence from the prosecution yet, so that is a step that is further down the road. But if he is, do you anticipate he would serve any time behind bars?
I can't imagine. Apparently, he has a very clean record. He's not a citizen. A lot of people hearing today he spoke up for him. And again, you've got to show that he showed up at the stepping pool and formed an intent to peel off a piece of the code in which, by every account was coming off. He did that with the intent to damage the reflecting pool and the damage was for above $1,000. That piece was awful. Pretty tough to prove any damages. And Mr. Eisen is saying it's a scapegoat. The first blush, it certainly looks like that. Quite a lot. If they're going to clean this case.
Judge John E. Jones,
Thank you. It's going to be with you.
close always. So, race and then potentially handicapping his replacement in the process into a situation that found themselves in. We discuss after a quick break. CNN
T-Mobile 5G.
This makes
That's just for T-Mobile only. I need that 5G from the Right now offers FDA-approved weight loss injections cheaper, so you can see weight loss results faster. Lose 20% of your weight with a formula that hits not one but two hormones for less hunger and better results. Weight loss, that's confidence, higher, price, cheaper. See if we /TV. They put up with the whole show for too long. It's outdated, unsafe, and it's time to replace it. Try with the nightly show, which you clearly can do in just one day. And there's no need to break the spot. We're making all installation bills, plus offering zero interest and zero payments for up to 1 year. So you can finally convert your old route to a safer, easy every show. Completed a custom seat, and similar system before. Installed in 1 day.
My overall experience with Jacuzzi has been wonderful. Everything was customized to the way I wanted it for the price.
experience from start to finish.
Don't take that as interviewing with fans. Do it the smart way. Feel Jacuzzi back in all the fall.
There are only meets remaining during our limited time. In all installation costs and offering no interest and no payments for up to 1 year. Go to jacuzzibackremodel.com or call 800-402-6712.
Water brains are incredible. Remember, that's why scientists tell you clinically tested ingredients to serve 3 dimensions of health. Take it from me. Another never forgets. Remember your ego. So you're in learning.
I think we have.
I like it. We want to see what things working to see those first zero to zero maintenance chemical burn zero yeah so okay drink different at most walking stores you'll find a magical vision that leads to something amazing and I example and the friendly item into today. It's actually brought you by NesoBook.com. If you are a loved one who music you're reading, we'll send you a free book as a request from anyone. Call now and we'll call you 214,000. The Democratic Party remains striving to organize a convention and get the new nominee to take on Republican Senator Susan Collins. A process that included multiple candidates and hundreds of delegates from the state's 16 counties, and they less than 3 weeks ago.
Exited the race following a former girlfriend accusing him of raping her while he was heavily intoxicated in 2021, something that slapped her in the eyes. In a video announcing his exit, he blasted what he called the corporate media system and the political establishment.
It's not the false allegations, though, that have brought us to where we are. It's the fact that they're being used by the political establishment to put structural pressure on us. We live in a political system that is not built for normal people. It is a system that is built structurally to make sure that movements like ours cannot flourish. That if they begin to succeed, they can be crushed.
Going now, Democratic strategist Rob Flaherty, he was deputy campaign manager for President Joe Biden's 2024 reelection. He's now co-host, but nobody knows anything about and board chair of advanced. So many titles. We're gonna have to pare that down for next time. Abbreviated. Okay, so Rob, you have a strong reaction to the video. You can't play it backwards in it, but nonetheless, give us a rated reaction.
In case people watch it, I love that video. How stupid do you think people are? First, once you respond, it's really on Reddit, military, but yes, but also wants to believe it. Established with God. It is this, and he's Mr. He tells you this guy use red flags before the radio stations they're not using it. It's this sorry. Oh no, I don't think that. Yeah, Susan Collins is always out. I think what's really more disturbing is that outside of maybe like the Democrats are looking, it's a really when acts by young girls underage. It's a living in their person. What happens in last time the Democrats finally say this is too much. So they go, you talk about I would say Donald Trump, president of the United States, he just paid $5 million yesterday. He was find a sexual assault allegation after.
Okay, can I ask you a question about that though? Because I would say I think that say that I mean almost entirely they will tell you they believe that they should be held for a higher standard. Anyone should be held for a higher standard. So I mean with that in mind, listen, these are not all examples now. Allegation of rape, guys. What do you say about? Is there a lot of Democrats who did, Tyler Bush was wagon?
He's no longer going to be on the ballot. We're replacing him. So this still candidate. It's been absolutely corrupt. But the landlord is still on the system. There's a piece. So there is no candidate on that rules you at all. I'm not going to assume on successor. That usually doesn't work out really well. Close to 600 votes. They're going to choose the statewide now. It's this idea that basically, power vote. I don't think they show that it work out.
All right, so if the candidate is and Mark has his idea about how it's going, what lessons can you take in this very abbreviated from the Biden exit?
Yeah. One, it should be just a big so he just said something got to go to the program back and think about six with Biden's appearance, which it was this explosion of enthusiasm. For Democrats in that state, that's what they need to do too. So I think that if we try to plan to get Biden, it will go. And so that is usually what they balance. Will you endorse any replacement of Platinum? Should you accept an endorsement of bills? Would you accept any comment that you have made? Support it? Oh, I'm sure she does. It's this is a class for thank you and credit this year for better. So the reality is that every 6 years, I have it's hard to take her. Boy, she's a tough world, and so I think that she's going to do just fine.
What do you think? And there is something that has changed, though, right? Which is people's laptop, which is the the abortion. And she is facing a different stuff. And I wonder, as she maybe faces
Yeah, I'm coming.
And so, I mean, he's
that's not it.
staying in
That's not-
minutes.
that's not a case of death, you think in Maine.
I don't think that's a driving force. For you're doing an autopsy of Grand Rapids candidacy, to what would you attribute his ascension, the fact that he's moved as far as all the times to become? Most of them you have to pay attention to. You look at Grand Rapids, you know why. He was voting, people were it's no primary. And so I think that is a thing you have to pay. Democrats are really good. They're voting failures the whole time. So I do think that rise in somewhere. I think there's a lot of us on both sides. Series of change, more so than revolution in the last 2 years, change. There needs to be, I think this would be a really steep hill for the Democrats. I think overall the midterm cycle.
Mark, thank you so much for the fun conversation. President Trump said that the Iran war is not starting up again, but the oil market is sending a very different message here over the past few days. So what does that mean for how much you pay at the pump?
Our brains are incredible, but now scientists developed an ingredient with chemically tested ingredients to support 2 dimensions of the world. Take it from me. A knowledge never remember knew you.
Everybody celebrating Americans too, other than 50th anniversary, but they're more than 1 million satisfied. Every reason you go to the house to see it for more than 40 years. Here in the secrets, what is way over never places with a clock down and see them react. Celebrate American sale, receive 75% of the story, but I think we don't see that. Now, the middle single payment still today, probably during this program, and they see celebrate American dollars. Two, I think it did the opportunity to get back to the private. So, what I go 392-7335. Let me give you that number. 392-7335.
Great.
I believe there are those in the house.
Suspend yourself. About all one spot. That's why we say, get it today, protect it for life, and you're going to celebrate them. It's 75% of the show. Now, you know who's going to be it's still 40 years. Celebrate.
These are good part. You're doing it. You see the next one you shot with it. So right, with 3927335, let me give you that number again. 3927335. Dave, if you will, I present to you the world protected business.
We have AT&T dynamic
That's how it's done. How are you supposed to get in? There's no door. Somebody say door.
real solutions. Resource, and first responder, unleash American courage. Either share it around with party Superintendent, taxes, higher prices, higher bills. Choices a DC politician or John Houston, problem solver. We have the best. Until chase that by try nature, the number one pharmacist recommended by the
The Jones Sports coming soon. CNN app.
System CNN, the pioneering aviator for a massive women space program, quality flight, his job, himself.
Funk was an accomplished pilot who went on to become the first female flight inspector for the FAA, but she had a huge dream of one day going to space.
I said, I want to become an astronaut. And they would take it. I didn't think that you're a girl, you can't do that. I said, it's not good if you want to go. I like to do things that really help.
She finally accomplished that in 2021 when she went up to space with Jeff Bezos on a New Shepard suborbital flight, the oldest woman to ever go to space. Blue Origin called them pioneering ever since the inspired generations.
For just minutes away, the collision bill on Wall Street, the stocks have been mostly higher today, despite the fighting between the U.S. and Iran. A bit of a recovery after the future stocks fell sharply on Wednesday after President Trump said the temporary truce was over.
Tough words and the new round of fighting sent sharply higher. In two places, gas prices have the biggest one-day jump since May. CNN's David Goldman is joining us now. So, David, how is this war and this war wars changing what we're paying at the moment?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, gas prices exploded higher yesterday. They are down today, but let's just put this into context. Where are we right now? We're at $76. You look at where we were before the war, well, actually, you know what? That is not too far off. We were at $112 in May. So certainly oil prices have come back down a lot despite the tensions that are going on. Gas prices, though, this is where it's starting to hurt. 5 cents in a single day. That was the biggest increase since May. So we're back at 385. Where we were at 456. So we're about 7 cents lower than the peak. But again, this is something that we need to remember. We were below $3 before the war. We've got quite a ways to go to get back there. Now, what's going on in the Strait? Well, the threats that President Trump has made have made an effect. Iran got 10 million barrels of oil out yesterday. With that into context, they've gotten 50 million barrels out of the Strait in the past 3 weeks. So certainly a huge escalation because Iran wants to make sure that they can get this oil out before it is a blockade. The blockade stops them from doing it. So what happens to U.S. oil? Well, we need that oil to get out because There's only $320 million of oil that needs to be put in, but that is down 23%, almost a quarter from where we were before the war started. We need that oil. Not only are we using that to fill the gap from the last Middle East oil, but this is also what we're providing if there's a hurricane, a power outage, or if there is a reduction of tension. So certainly there's a lot to take stock of, and this will be a threat to the economy if this war begins. Yeah, I like to keep an eye on the Goldman thing. So not some of the headlines we're watching this hour. The non-defense attorney Benjamin Trump how shocking or Jimmy Paul's for a criminal investigation with the death of no one well. An 18-year-old whose body was found on Mississippi Valley Monday. It's traveled to celebrate 4th of July with the family that was done. The state of an autopsy is not being conducted. The family is seeking an independent examination for how they died. The coroner says that no immediate physical injury was apparent. There's no fact is suspected. Trump released the statement earlier saying that, quote, we will not rest until every fact about what happened Norwood on Hill Island is brought to the light. The investigation remains active. Causes of death is not yet clear. The woman was recognizable voice of the 1980s pop arts has passed away.
Singer 1983 hit Total Eclipse of the Heart catapulted her to fame, became a #1 song in both the US and the UK. Born in Wales, Tyler was also one of several voices on the Cooking soundtrack with her song Baby Outbreak. Statement on her website, Tyler's death was open for an illness that she would be treated for. Unfortunately, Bonnie Tyler is 75. And a new steel structure will record every single step the humanity takes toward catastrophe. The aptly named Earth's black box sits on the remote island of Tasmania, off the southern coast of Australia, and its job is to record climate data points, everything from temperatures and sea levels to political speeches and weather news. Ultimately, the idea here is that if climate change wipes out humanity, the black box can provide an unbiased account of events that led to the demise of the planet. The box should be up and running by the end of the year. And the players are back on the pitch, still ahead. We're counting down to the first game of the World Cup quarterfinals.
Our brains are incredible, but then we're independent. That's why scientists can live in 3D with chemically tested ingredients to support interactions of remote. Take it from me. No, it never forgets. You'll never know you have. Physically
Our outages can be unpredictable and inconvenient, but with a Chillin standby generator, you're uninterrupted because when your generator takes some power and automatically powers up, giving your family the security and peace of mind they deserve. We don't have to worry about whether we lose power.
we just want to be prepared for anything.
8 out of 10 home generators are generated with thousands of satisfying customers. Just owning a generator is easier than ever. Special financing and no monthly payment options are available. And if you call, you can also receive a free 5-year warranty, valued at over $500. Call or go online now to request your free quote.
consultation in court. It's 658 today.
Basically, like that. We saw that.
JT tape increases blood flow and dental because or JT tape. JT tape, pro style tape.
Lifeline is coming in deal by man.
Stop. Savor the strawberries.
With not really picture again, you choose from plants. So whatever you put. I'll see you again. Another see you in that.
World Cup action is back in a fever pitch. Now, look at it.
Yeah, quarterfinals kickoff, just minutes away. France, Morocco, battle it out. Top of the hour. Friday, Spain goes up against Belgium. Saturday, we see Norway versus England, Argentina against Switzerland. A jam-packed schedule for the fans. Let's check in the San Sports Center from Amanda Davis. Amanda, who's favored to take it all?
Well, France were tournament favourites and heading into their game against Morocco. That is with that fearsome attacking lineup, the likes of Kylian and Mbappe and Marco and Missile there, and Mendes and Bele. But Morocco are being seen as the biggest test for them of this tournament so far. It's a rematch of the semi-final from 4 years ago in Qatar 2022. France won that one. But you might remember in Qatar, Morocco very much the team that swept so many of us along with their enthusiasm as they made history, the first African side ever to reach a World Cup semi-final. Expectations are higher, and they've been putting in the performances to match. And they're unbeaten in the 10 games since they won the African Cup just a couple of months ago, and of course swept aside in their last round. The Moroccan fans have found in their very much picking up that mantle from the Tartan army. And most people didn't know what to do with themselves yesterday, our first day in just under a month without football. I think the feeling is this one is going to be worth the wait.
I wanted to turn on a match. And there wasn't anything to watch, which was a bummer. But Amanda, we did learn that U.S. bowler Wilson actually flattened his leg in that losing loss to Belgium. The upset, searing loss, I think we could call it. And how's he doing? He does. By that beat to Belgium, it turns out. We have had this update on Captain America. He has been diagnosed with what is being described as a microfracture and bone bruise of the fibula in his right leg. The calf injury on the other leg in that opening game against Paraguay that caused him to go off part-time. Hasn't he in recent days? The US legends for lots of London
interview when we were talking about his availability, he said he needed time to rest, and Carly always said, rest when you're retired. And interestingly, after this news, she's doubled down on that criticism, saying, I don't know anyone in the comedy who ended up resting up a whole year. That's the facts. Nothing personal against him. And Carly, of course, knowing that in the women's game, the likes of East Bond, the England player, encouraging European championships with a fraction just last year. It's really interesting. I feel the need to reveal this now with the US out, and I think that's maybe the motivation behind this.
Nowadays, thank you so much for the update. I'm going to keep track of all those games. Some of us are maybe feeling sick of this class, but maybe wanting to leave in a good way. Continuing to work with the NASA with recruit volunteers for a test to simulate what it's like to live on Mars for a full year. Space Agency wants full people to live in the habitats. That's when they're traveling, living in space. We have a chance to grow some crops, to create help from simulated spacewalks and special small quarters. A study now humans have it.
When I get to a site, lines on that name, it's just so sign me up. And if you want to do this, applicants have to be a U.S. citizen, you have to be a permanent resident, you have to be 30 and 55 years old. See, I can do this, notice. You have to be taller than 6 feet 2. You have to be fluent in English. Check, check. That's it. It's looking for people with astronaut-like qualifications. Here's the downfall for me. Maybe like a bachelor's degree in engineering, military experience. I don't have that. Okay, but maybe you do. This is a program that can start next summer. It was really good for the sector.
It was. I mean, it's not so bad. We can have our actually figure it out.
Resume there. Reno, fancy that starts right now. Reports that we fight explosions in locations along Iran's coasts. American officials, CNN, the U.S. military is not currently conducting airstrikes. Really, people say they're not with anything from their side. There's questions about just who is behind explosives. This Congress followed around with earlier U.S. attacks said retaliation for a Iranian attack.
It's the also talk about possible explosions in various places along the Iranian coast. First, you have to know what's in Iran. At least the aspect of things that's not roundabout way. Today, we started during the U.S. right now, the operation out of there. To the border of Pakistan. It's supposed to be town hall share, but of course the Iranian county nuclear reactor, the Iranian actions that they were once conducting during the period of perimeter the reactor, not also so far has not been during 5 minutes. It would be correct right now they really got also moved into the daylight hours. And strikes do the way yes, they shot some ones, and this was U.S. based. They say in June, they was confirming that from the very top, and they shot them. So simply right now, the body that sort of the here on the ground is more of an escalation than a de-escalation. The Iranians in general say that they're making a first response to the U.S. strike again, and all of this, of course, basically coming as we are sort of in the final stages of that massive and very prolonged funeral ceremony for Iran's
wait to hear Ayatollah Ali Khamenei in the latest stage of that going on right now. Still, the one was the holiness side of the Iran being for them at the same time was the shadow by that activity in the U.S. Iran.
Use the word Philippines, but really to what you think about the reporting. But again, thank you so very much for that. I want to bring in Stephen to the White House for that's fine. And Stephen Global Security Analyst David Sanger of with us. We're also talking about the panel interview with Stephen from New York University of Navarro. Stephen critical commentator Kevin Goldberg. Senior advisor to the Biden presidential campaign to Colorado. And here. Let me start with this reporting out of the White House, thinking what they're saying. The president has talked repeatedly about the deal, and then this David Sanger looking at this analysis. But first, what are you hearing from the White House?
There's so many questions for the White House. What exactly is the status of this ceasefire and what is their aim? What is that path forward? Now, President Trump said phrases that very often Iran wants to make the war so bad to say that they're worthy of making a deal. So that is very unclear for the marketing. They talk to their people as advance with all the goals. So David Sanger is hearing from your vast network of sources as you try to figure out exactly how to get into this again by
My network was not bad, but very confusing. Because they don't really and what the past is great that they will hit very hard. But there is for 38 days, 28 forward. And frankly, it didn't work. The Iranian Navy, it destroyed what was left of their Air Force, and their missile capability, they didn't really go up. They had a here, nothing along the political thing. And so now to go back to the and did it very well. And then declared that the world giving it space to look like to fill their ranks. The strategy of going back and down is a little bit
going back President Trump himself has said over the things that David was describing. I want to play for you what that has sounded like over the course of the last
this process is going to work quickly.
that will take this event.
And even that you don't talk about coming up with people looking at they're never gonna um it's more hearing. Is that there was a separate corridor into the monument. The one that but there's no strategy. There's no plan. It may work out well for them, it may not. But
Scores some of the filtering among people who had supported the president over this as we come back around to the other.
this war is not something that everybody is concerned with. Most people don't want to accept support. Most people are horrified by the idea because Trump was elected. One of the pillars that he stood for was he doesn't want any more war. What's happening? Yes, that's right.
Last day. Just and now our intentions. And you know, the thing that I want to stuff that possibly have a stock market, the oil markets, just sort of like have an Asia and have the same kind of payout. But this is very dangerous. At the end of the day, we can take about it. This is really very dangerous. This is a very volatile part of life, and each bond is that is the one. In a center, I could read you guys here. According to Joe Rogan, talked about supporters of Israel backing this war, and I know Nancy Klein had to go. Kind of trying to say that international, but she also was reporting that President Trump and Netanyahu spoke today. Can you speak a little bit to where things stand right now? It's all of this because not only necessarily Israel, but how it's playing out right now.
Are going to be digging way into that. It's got to be those two men we side by side and President Netanyahu helped convince along with their that if they went together and would attack, then the Iranian government would weak, but they would be able to handle it. And President went along with it. Then the president moved South Korea. Then didn't have a plan for that. The split prime minister died, the president died,
find it out. The prime minister was perfectly happy with the vote until they tried to rearrange things, right? Many of which were budget or would rebuild. And it gets approved. So there's a real division right now. American which is get straight up into the and the Israeli effect, which is the really different. But they do care about this army.
All right. Thank you, sir. Inside the race to decide both of the candidates, the Democratic Party, and some candidates this year for primary election now. Plus, what we know about the other sense the Democrats to figure out who will be the next candidate. We know a lot. This is not acceptable. It's not okay.
Yeah. Love you, baby. Love you.
When the power goes out, our outages can be unpredictable and inconvenient, but sure happens. You need it the most, special financing and you will also receive a free warranty for even over $5. Your free warranty. Reach out.
Consumer cellular is lowering the price for those that can get a for just $35 a month. To the carrier, number one, coverage satisfaction. All play will come on by. GLP-1. Now, monthly plan, and at half the price. FDA approved cheaper. The fastest GLP-1 at its lowest price. On what? Move 27 weight loss, faster. Cheaper. 1 monthly pen. Speed people. At no outside of my home. Great. I gotta say that way. That's why I would put LP Smart Sides from the side. It installs smarts. This is Vista, this is skill, all is good though. Because outside, it's not to worry about this. That's why it's only LT3.
See you now. This is all this. It brings everything they want. It's not. It is placed next to my plate. It's about what needs to happen. We believe for the movement to continue. You people
A lengthy video class. Already, have been ranked parties safely and convention. About 600 delegates will decide. Also share expenses.
those in power recognize themselves are using these allegations as an excuse to take away all of the things that we need. I'm not trying to dictate to anyone who it should be or how to get this. It needs to be open, transparent, and democratic. It needs to be reflecting the will and the values of people that this movement. People, people in DC need to stay on this. Decision should not be made.
Matt, let me start with you. I think the first one, one of these coming up on maybe even a dozen people that go, and there has been race for things that very, very, I don't know, I was looking for a moment of humility. You know, being a rookie, So David actually which is next. So for this stuff, so essential. Yeah. We're not yeah. Think is the right way forward to give the voters a game by it. Whoever got to decide. And they have an action. And they and really convention for the fact and all the time and I one factor, but we also talked about this. The person who benefits from being seen as wholly of Maine is
Yeah. And the idea that, oh, Christian thought, maybe we should have faith. You don't know the truth is that I find that it's time, very long, but maybe come to truth whether or not will be compassionately. The thing, he probably knows the answer. And if the answer is, he's even a little bit, right? It's even a little sort of, she said, I think, you know, something happened, not out of your fault, but he said this video is Trump. He's attacking the entire American system, he's attacking democracy, so it's all rigged by powerful people who are undermining democracy. I think
That's it. Really enjoyed that. Stay in touch. The rest of the council will stand by. I'm not actually sure the Senate candidate David Stevens is here live. We have to the final weeks of the contentious Democratic primary, one of the biggest midterm races of the year.
You know, they're saying that this race right now is absolutely necessary. Either.
This is bigger than I thought. This is also something we're going to see it. Next thing I'm going to see it.
Our brains are incredible. Many of them that's why scientists take it from you. I know it never forgets. Remember no you. Well, which will best
It's a means it's keeping you on track. Sure investments. That's right. It's the same like you can fit this any way you want.
get it fixed any way you want. That's it. Sticky diapers, sticky feet. Yours can be caused by bacteria that linger in your air. Even air pressures. Your sanitizer only is bacteria in the air. Send his sanitizer. Like all can.
And feature good year-round for incredible grip. However, one takes a whole team, and the other you just step in one. Fast and easy to you schedules are. So you're that staff. Check out habits. You're the best business owner in personnel. His referrals is home. Our habits. It's easy to apply and there are no hidden fees. Waiting, doctor, and what do you need at this time? How we call HR? What an HR?
New Briar and they world are about to develop now loaded with trouble and found them. This is Sunday.
And then there's Sierra, employee pricing for everyone. The capabilities and the price growth today. That's GMC Sierra. It's the best. GMC Sierra. It's the needs and celebrate Independence Day with it. Pricing for everyone. The whole GMC Sierra. Sierra City, New York. Also, 14,000 sort of value in Sierra. Business. Today's caption brought to you by NessaBook.com. If you are walking companies of the send you a few book questions. Call now. 214,000.
Also, includes week in another state, as employees, party chances of retaking the Senate this fall. From the modern party and also had the sparred in their first line debate of the race. Considering over issues like funding, so that and Senator was exiting the race and created an opening for one of these two candidates to try to take a decisive lead ahead of the August 4th primary. Pointing out to Michigan Congressman Debbie Dingell, it's for her state. This race is still anyone's. Stephen, Congresswoman, thank you very much for spending some time with us in the interview today. I will start by asking you how this race got to where it is. Sources from the National Party, and yet Abdul Al-Sayed has been running a fierce campaign, and you have not
This is an exciting and important moment for our state. As someone who worked on administration during the vote procession, it was a time of major uncertainty. I would want to all of us to save those 200,000 Michigan jobs. It is a different time, but it's a time of uncertainty. It's a chaos and so how the Board of Health rates was voting 1,000 workers and things like that on other we see rising costs every year in the county, and Michiganders deserve the best power in the United States. That is the right the United States Senate, not because but because I want to get the courage and the leadership of my state that it matters. Michiganders
from the establishment now negative primary vote. Well, I think that we can do this.
Offices and their rich, I don't think so. Yeah. Stand up. I do not really very Canada, White Province, it's a small business levels around. So, my service side is in these so yes, I from the boat and to make sure that take the cross
outside group. I would not the trip. Do you think that trips from
that is what it's all about. Helping exciting manufacturers when you see them today. The selling of other markets are way different than everybody.
Let's talk a little bit about your I'll say it because I criticized people on Israel in particular and what's the war in Iran about our show at the top of headlines today. I want to play something that he has used to create a website attack you. Go to the website, place this on a loop. I want to show it to our viewers the top. How would you characterize the arts event and what impact does this have?
Understandable things community through doing pain styles and I have been certainly really dedicated and all the experience to as a child awards multiple years ago and frankly and then he's failed because as they use less safe for America and around the world. And this would then I'm not afraid of that. I'm afraid I've never seen up the middle one. Walk with the team for 5 years. I was like, resolutions for government federation. What they will not be the best I was afraid of spending that's how it's
I'm sorry, I had on this program a few days ago several times. Israel has a right to exist. He did not say that straight. What is your issue? Does Israel have a right?
Yeah, absolutely. Sitting state solution. People in Palestine, side by side with the people of Israel. It is particularly so that a few debates in talking about Israel's right to exist. That does not bring us closer to peace. That does not help us in this situation. I stand by the two-state solution and my long work to bring us to that day.
I was with that finally before I go. Mr. Al Sayed did an interview recently. He was talking about APAC, which was this debate. He says if you hope that APAC will teach her, how to string together two sentences. Did you address that one?
It's the jump soft politics. It's under the statements, a lot of those gals in the workplace. So I said, I see out the 2,000 all of us in the administration. I could think for myself when I was chips and science after the House of Representatives in manufacturing that. And I'm sort of thinking for myself because I've been doing the charge to be accountable for the input of stand up science and public ethics. As Michigan's next United States Senator, when it matters, leaders, tax cuts, well, Michiganers,
Now, I know I said it was about like, but I do want to circle back. I had one follow-up question we were talking about before. Addressed it feels like to just be that making support a solution. Does that mean, do you think Palestine has any support?
And Palestine to itself as alongside guys, there are other books and funders that we are books for aid resources. This is why I'm second up. Have pockets and and look, that we demonstrate and free trade and freedom. I would thank you. If you step in, stop.
For you. I agree.
That's true.
But I take it like I feel like self-injection.
First major admission in CIDP treatment in over 30 years.
If we're actually going to be
This risk of infection and serious allergic confusion or injection-related reactions. It's the top breathing problems, low blood pressure, infection, fever, high blood pressure, chills or shiver, chest or upper back, vaccinations, allergies, or kidney problems. Most common side effects include respiratory and urinary tract infections, headache, and injection site reactions.
It much about number one. That's what we did.
Notice that as you go from this to this, please work as we bring to the expense. Last subsequent styles. Wait, anything. And stores that will be perfect.
consumer side gives you the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage from big wireless and best customer service in the business.
See one of our newest bases with versions of your bills right up the top. The next power outage, we will chill out and stay power generated. What life goes uninterrupted because you are power when you need it the most. Now, you will receive a free 5-year warranty. Taking one HIV pill a day doesn't seem like much, but I would take it every single day over time. It started to add up. I was ready to daily HIV pills. That's why I chose.
For adults who are unsuccessful, HIV treatment besides work in this 2 months. It's injectable and it's effective as the HIV pills. Don't take caffeine with ingredients or taking certain medicines that may interact. Reactions or rash, what's the tension reactions, liver problems and depression. These occur and get medical report. So your doctor about medicines or supplements, medical conditions, liver, kidney problems, mental health, pregnancy, injections have reaction.
tell your doctor to get
Take advantage of the expert portfolio. Optimal strategies. With advanced insights, our advisors have spot opportunities and clients and workers. Your ambition just makes match.
I used to have research. Optimal patches and moisture for clearer, healthier electronics. That optimal patches show up the phone again when your these work. Angie, with Angie, find top photos in your area. Plus compare quotes and pricing to help you get all your jobs done well.
Trust relationships.
As Air Force One, this is a market on every level. Why would you put it here? Was compromised, and what do you know about that? This guy's
Well, that's a big question. Consider, yeah. And I think that a comparison here is with this first administration, President Trump is going to the exam. It's still not so it takes years to talk to the lines, but it's also required time to install equipment, measures to protect the president, classified communication, and this time to actually turn the pilot. The Air Force had previously told the Associated Press in a statement that only modify certain upgrades to get it into service. You don't think so? You think the first problem here is the reason that well, now you're starting what Trump said is that he actually sent that jet on to military base because the entire base wanted to see it. This thing is not talking to people in the military friends and former colleagues. I don't find a single person who believes that was the reason that this law happened. No one in the military it's and it's just sort of like rock, the unity itself, well, they have to trust what the say is actually what you need. They have got to just journalistically, I can the president got the office when the thing on. This would be the first time this the truth that is completed. Anyone want to take more?
my memory serves quite a bit.
mean, if you were the president, you'd be on the party debt when you were willing to buy it.
Really step back. Our first one. So the full would happen. But think about what it's like. Look, that's fine. Gosh, yeah. Great. Hard. That it is exactly. If you are, if you're in a region where maybe you're not just doing
So let's say it's compromised or something.
and if there was a moment of the new fight was a game, we don't know that we are taking the bone back. Secret Service should be or officers. Right? It is good. This goes to the
Thank you, sir. You also Russian bots on social media.
It was unclear. Sports. See
There are some things I wish I still didn't see, but for most things, I'm so glad I discovered this. A once again prescription I got with very near vision. Make it visible. Sticky diapers, sticky feet, sticky cosmetic bacteria, and your ear. Muscle is Send kids into Lysol and
Trying to figure out the it's not you, it's type 2. Yeah. And it's different. Using CGM and X127 it can see what works. I just didn't understand how my body would react to different things. And I even symptoms and like 6.2 and then I point, oh my goodness. Technology side essentially concerns your smartphone. And where's the I think I can show it anything I want. I wish my things people I do really want nothing to do. Most Medicare patients do not 15 days and receive a free
First time in over 40 years, new options for people with motion sickness. There is a group of prevention vomiting inducing motion in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Decreased vomiting by 60%.
The most common side effects of mucus include drowsiness, headache. Strong CYP inhibitors increase mucus levels and the risk of side effects. Monitored breast influence from drowsiness. Mucus has not been studied in people with liver or severe kidney problems.
New option in 40 years for people with motion sickness. There is today. There is US. Delivered to your door in 2 days. Travel without it. By Panda Pharmaceuticals. Where is the heat anything about the minutes? It's research systems errors. I was on the flight.
switches, civil zeros.
Oh shit, what am I live? I didn't